Okay, can you all hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Can someone reply, please? Oh, you're in the waiting room.
Recording in progress.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, if you have a question, raise your hand. We will go over the core material for the lesson classification. You can all see my screen? Okay, now the lesson starts with the definition of classification, and I think I mentioned this in class. And we will start by mentioning that all living organisms have certain features, and these features make them different from non-living organisms. And these features can be summarized in the word Mrs. Gren. Okay, I think most of you have an idea about that, where M is for movement. All living organisms, they move from one place to another. All living organisms respire. Now, respiration here is important because it is different from breathing. Some of you were confused in paper 2, and they thought that breathing is, yes, this is a whiteboard, that breathing is one of the characteristics of life. No, breathing is not one of the characteristics of life. It is respiration, and it's different. Breathing is the intake of oxygen and the exhalation of carbon dioxide. But respiration is a chemical reaction that takes place in all living organisms that involves this equation, okay? Food, I'll write down the word equation for that. Food, when you are respiring, is broken down in the presence of what? Who will tell me? Who will remind me? Food is broken down in the presence of? Are you all muted? Let me try to avoid that. Okay, can someone tell me food is broken down in the presence of what in respiration?
Oxygen.
Oxygen.
Okay, to give me what? To give me carbon dioxide as a waste product and water, and of course we respire to release energy. For now, let's do with the word equation, and we will take the balanced chemical equation later. This is respiration. This is different from breathing. Breathing is simply the intake of oxygen when I take in oxygen, and it is the removal of CO2. But respiration is a different story. Respiration is a chemical reaction that takes place in anything that is alive. Anything that is alive will have to respire. Okay, so please, respiration is one of the characteristics of life, but breathing is not one of the characteristics of life. Okay, going back to the characteristics that make here. So I think respiration is clear now. And then we have sensitivity. Again, sensitivity was obvious in the question in paper 2, where the plant will move towards the source of light. There's a source of light, and the plants will always grow towards the source of light. This is sensitivity. It is the ability to detect and sense stimuli. In case you don't know what is stimuli, stimuli means external or internal change, any change in your environment. And when you detect that there is stimuli, you will take action. You will do a response. All living organisms grow. Everything grows. And a permanent increase in size and dry mass is growth. Now, what is dry mass before you ask me? Dry mass, from the name, this is the mass of the organism after we remove the water. Okay? Everything that is alive grows. Plants grow, animals grow, Everything that is living grows. Everything that is alive reproduces, the making of more of the same kind of organism. Anything that is alive will do excretion. Excretion is the removal of waste products. It is the removal of materials that are toxic to your body or poisonous, and it is the removal of materials that are available in excess. So sometimes we will excrete materials that are good for us, but they are available in excess, such as water. Water is very important, but if you drink lots of water, you will excrete the excess. This is also a form of excretion. Okay? Now, nutrition. We all feed, of course, and plants, they feed by photosynthesis, they are producers, and animals, they feed by feeding on other organisms because we are consumers. Of course, you know that if animals consume dead matter, what are they called? Hello?
Decomposers.
Okay. Until now, I think everything is clear and easy. If you have any questions, stop me. Organisms, I think we mentioned that they are classified using 3 methods. Either the external morphology, or if I want to look inside the organism, I will cut him open, I will dissect him, and I will look at the internal anatomy. But the most accurate method is looking at the what? At the
DNA.
DNA base.
Perfect. The base sequence in the DNA. Very good. Now, organisms, they can be of the same species or not the same species. Like we are all humans. We are all of the same species. What does the same species mean? It means that you have to fill certain criteria. The organisms that are of the same species, they do not only look alike, but they have to be able to reproduce. The most important thing is that they are able to reproduce, and they reproduce fertile offspring. What does this mean? It means that the offspring... Yes, my dear? If you want to answer, go ahead. Fertile offspring means that the offspring that is brought into the world, they can produce again. We can have an example. For example, I can have a donkey. This donkey will mate with a horse, and they will get an organism, let's call it Z donkey. Okay? Now, can this Z donkey reproduce again? Can it make more babies?
No.
No. So this will show me that the donkey and the horse, they are of the same species or they are not of the same species?
Not.
Not.
Of the same species, exactly. Okay, so I hope species is clear. Now, the binomial system.
Please.
Excuse me?
Can you explain, please?
Okay, I just did, but I'll do it again if you want me to. 1 minute, let me open a new screen. Okay, species means what? Now, why are we all the same species? Who is asking? We say that organisms are of the same species when they are similar. When they are similar in terms of structure. In other words, they look the same. They're similar. Okay? We all look the same. But this is not enough. Also, the second feature that must be fulfilled, where they can reproduce. I think you know what reproduce means. They can have children. Not only that, still this is not enough. When their children can reproduce some more, when they can produce fertile offspring. Word by word, offspring means children. Fertile means these children can produce more children. So when organisms are of the same species, they have to fulfill those 3 criteria. Number 1, they have to be similar. They have to look the same, okay, or very similar. Number 2, they should be able to reproduce, to have children. Number 3, these children should be fertile. They can have more children. I gave you an example of the donkey and the horse. The donkey and the horse, they are similar, okay? And they can reproduce. But can they produce fertile offspring? If the donkey and the horse mates together and they have a baby, this baby can have more babies?
No.
No. So the donkey and the horse, they are not of the same species because you have to fulfill all three criteria. I hope that's better. Okay, now the binomial system, this is a system. It is an international naming system in which all living organisms are given a name by scientists. This name is a biological name. It is not in English. It is in Latin English, Old English, okay? And it is understood by all scientists from all over the world, regardless of their nationality. For example, if I have a French scientist and an Egyptian scientist and a Japanese scientist, and you all give them the symbol CO2, will they understand what is CO2?
Yes.
Yes, because this is an international formula. The same idea. The binomial system is an international system that gives species a scientific name. And this name is understood by all scientists regardless of their nationality. Now, this binomial system is made up of two parts. So we have a name that is made up of two parts. The first part is the what? Genus. And the second part is the species. Now, I think you understand what species means. That these organisms are similar and they can reproduce and they can produce fertile offspring. Genus means they have the same general characteristics. Okay? Let's say, for example, we have an example here in your notes. For example, the lion. The lion is given a binomial or scientific name known as the Panthera leo. Again, the name is made up of two parts. The Panthera is the genus or the species?
Genus.
It has to always start with a capital letter. And the Leo is the
Species.
and it has always to be in a small letter. And I'm happy that you already looked at paper 2 and they ask you questions about the binomial name. They give you several names, A, B, C, D, and you choose the one that is written correctly. The first is the genus, the second is the species. How do you know that this is the correct name? Because the genus is always written with a capital letter, Panthero, and the species with a small letter. And it is not English. It's not going to be familiar to you, okay? And it has to be written in italics, okay? So, again, we discussed this, morphology, anatomy. Organisms are classified into the kingdom, phylum, class, order. Before you ask me, you don't need to memorize the order, okay? You just need to memorize the 5 kingdoms that we discussed, and we will discuss today the vertebrates, and the names given to the organisms, which starts with the genus, the general characteristics, and the species, the more specific characteristics that enable them to reproduce and produce fertile offspring. For example, Homo sapiens. Okay, Homo is the genus with a capital letter. Sapiens is the species, small letter for the humans. Okay, now the advantage of the binomial system. It is used by all scientists, regardless of their nationality. It is an international system. So just memorize that its main advantage is to prevent confusion and prevent error. Okay, and why is it called binomial system? Because the name is made up of 2 parts. Bi means 2. Fine. Now, I think I explained this in class. Why is classification important? Because I want to study organisms and I want to see how they changed with time. I want to study their evolutionary relationships. In case you're confused, evolution means how organisms change with time. This is a nice picture here showing you the mammoth. This mammoth is the old elephant that lived in the Ice Age. It was very cold back then. So that mammoth, it had lots of fur, as you can see, to keep it warm. Now, this is the elephant that is present in India. India is very hot. So the elephant here looks so different from the mammoth because of the environmental differences. The mammoth lived in the Ice Age and the elephant lives in India or in Africa in general, and it's really hot. So it cannot have fur. Fur will make it very warm and it can die from the heat. It has very thin skin. It is smaller. It has larger ears because these ears, by the way, they act as fans. They flip their ears and it gives them, or it makes them cool. So this is evolution. Evolution is the change of organisms with time. And why do they change? Why do they have to change?
To adapt.
So that they could survive.
To adapt to the environment.
You are all correct. To adapt to the environment. Otherwise, they will not be able to adapt and they will die. Okay? So this is evolution. Okay, we did talk about DNA and classification and the base sequence. If anything is not clear, please tell me or stop me. Okay, now organisms, when they discover an organism, we want to classify, and now we know that they are classified to make it easy to study so that I see how they change with time, etc., etc. Now, how do I classify? If I want to classify them, they have general classification schemes. For example, they discovered this leaf. I want to give this leaf a name. So I will go to my book. They have books and they have dichotomous keys that everyone uses, and they will use this key to give a name to the organism. Let's do it together. Let's look at this leaf. Use the key to identify the leaf. Let's go to number 1. This leaf with several small leaflets, does it have several small leaflets?
No.
Is it a leaf with one large leaf blade?
Yes.
One large.
Very good. So I will follow the instructions. It's a leaf,
Go to 3.
one large. Very good. I'll go to 3. So I will jump to 3. It's a leaf with smooth edges or toothed edges.
No.
Toothed
Toothed
edge.
edges.
Very easy. So this is leaf D. And the same, you will find lots of examples in paper 2. I think you already did them. And sometimes they will ask you the question in reverse. They will tell you, they will not give you the key and they will ask you to identify the organism. No, they will ask you to describe the organism. And I think this was one of the questions in paper 4. Where was this question? It was here. This question. If you remember, figure 5.2, the dichotomous key to identify the ciliates shown in figure 5.1. Start. It has a ring of cilia at one end of the organism. Here is the ring of cilia at one end of the organism. Okay, so yes, you will go to 2. Give it a description. If it's a yes and it's organism B, let's go to organism B. Give me a way to describe organism B. How can you describe it? What did you write in this question?
It has 2 rings of cilia.
Yes, it has 2 rings of cilia. You can say one larger ring and one smaller ring. It has a spine at the end. Okay, so yes, it will be organism B. Let's look at the mark scheme. Where's the mark scheme? Didn't you see the answers? Text for box 2, exactly. Box 2, the organism has 2 rings of cilia, okay? Or it has no stalk. It doesn't have that part. So you can either say something that is very obvious, like your friend said, it has 2 rings of cilia, or it does not have that stalk that is present in other organisms. So sometimes they will get you the key and you follow the key to get the name of the organism, or sometimes they will do the opposite and they will tell you describe the organism. Okay, either this or that. Now let's go to box 4. We want a way to describe organism A. Let's go to organism A. How can you describe organism A? What did you write in this question? What did you say about organism A to describe it so that you can easily identify?
Has rows of cilia.
Exactly, it has rows of cilia. Very easy question. Some of you did not know how to answer the question, not because you cannot answer it, you can, but because you did not understand the question. Okay, a lot of you asked me about that question and they realized that it was so easy because they did not read the question. So one of the reasons why you can lose marks is sometimes you do not understand the question. So read the question from the very beginning and understand what the examiner wants from you. Okay, so this dichotomous key, I hope it's clear. It's a key that will help you identify organisms. You follow the instructions until you identify the organism, or they can ask you the question in reverse, and they can ask you to describe the organism. I hope it's easy. Now, the evolutionary tree, I explained it in 2 classes and I did not explain it in one of the classes. So I'll explain it again for everyone. Okay, this is a tree. This tree is important. Yes, Dalia. You have a question, my dear?
Yes. If the feature that I mentioned was not in the mark scheme, does that mean that it's wrong?
No, because I think you noticed that they tell you any valid point. Yeah, any valid point. If the feature that you mentioned is very obvious and clear to the examiner, he will give you the grade. AVP means any valid point. Or if they write in the mark scheme, alternative wording means you can write the same meaning, but in a different way. That's the nice thing about Cambridge, that you can use your own language. You can write it in your own words. So if the characteristic is very obvious, no, it will be considered correct. Don't worry. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, the evolutionary tree, again, it is a mechanism or a scheme that the scientists use to know the relationship between organisms and their great-great-great-grandfather, their ancestor. It's like a family tree. Someone told me it looks like a family tree or it has the same idea. Yes, okay? So here is organism, let's say organism X. This organism is the old or the great-grandfather, okay? And on this axis, it's usually a graph, you will have the value of time. And time is usually in years. Now, this is the great-grandfather, okay? And then some time has passed because any horizontal line indicates that time has passed. And then there is a point of division here. This point of division means that a change happened, something happened, a change in the physical features, okay? So here is a point of change or a point of speciation. In other words, a new species has evolved, of course, because of changes in the environment. So I had a great-grandfather, a very, very old organism that lived thousands or millions of years ago. This organism lived on Earth for many years, and at one point, this organism changed. It gave us 2 other organisms, organism E, okay, and an organism at that point that changed again, stayed on Earth for some time, and at that point changed again to give us organism A and organism B, and the change that happened here gave rise to organism C and organism D, and now we have the organisms that live at the moment, that live at the current time, at the present day. So let's assume that organism A and B and C and D and E, they live now in 2023. Let's say different dog breeds, okay? German Shepherd, Golden Retriever, Pit Bull. These are the dog breeds that are available now at 2023, but they are not living in the same place, for example, but they're living on Earth now. All these dogs came from a very old dog that lived millions of years ago that changed with time, okay? Now, which organism is the closest to the great-great-great-grandfather? A, B, C, D, or E?
E.
E. Yes, it's very obvious it's E because there is only one point of change that happened that resulted in organism E. So organism E is the closest in appearance to the great-grandfather. GG, great-grandfather, okay? A, B, and C, and D are the dogs that live now, present time, 2023. A and B are very close to each other. Let's say, I'll give you an example, the German Shepherd and the Husky, okay? They are similar, but maybe they are of different color because I can see that they come from the same branching point. So A and B, species A and B are very similar. Species C and D are also very similar because again, they come from the same branching point. Organism A is very distant to organism D because they are not close to each other in the classification line that starts from the top here and goes down all the way to the bottom. So this evolutionary tree is a tree that is similar to the family tree that shows you the relationship between the current organisms that live at the present time and a great-great-great-grandfather. How do I read it? Every horizontal distance indicates that time has passed, and every branching point indicates that a new species has evolved. Every branching point is a point of change. A new organism was created. We don't know the organisms that were present in between. We only know the old organism and the organisms that are present now. And how do we know that there was an old organism? Because we definitely discovered some fossil fuels. Okay, now again, that question was in paper 4. They gave us, there was a question here that was not very nice. And again, I was asked about this question here. This big question, number 2, this was year. The year is not important now. They gave you here, let's read it together. The classification of giant pandas, the names here, is debated by many scientists. Figure 2.1 shows a giant panda eating bamboo plants. Figure 2.2 shows a red panda and a polar bear, okay? So they're giving you pictures of the panda and what are they eating and where do they live? State one dietary component that is more likely to be found in the bamboo plants than in fish. Now this is here. To be found in bamboo plants than in fish. What is found in plants and not found in fish?
Fiber.
Yeah,
Carbohydrates.
okay. Yes, you are correct. Fish, this is the correct answer. Of course, this is the lesson nutrition. State 2 features visible in figure 2.1 and figure 2.2 that identified, yes.
External ear.
ما فهمتش السؤال ايه يعني ايه الفرق مش فاهم.
Here in A, they are asking you what is present in this food, in the plants, and what is different? What is present in plants and in fish? What is present in terms of different foods? We will study the lesson biological molecules. We will study that in food we have fiber and water and carbohydrates and fats. For example, fish can have fats, but plants don't have fats. Plants can have vitamin C, but fish does not have vitamin C. Plants have a lot of fiber, but fish don't have fiber. So what is the difference in the two types of food? This is what they mean. Did you understand now?
Okay.
Okay. B, state 2 features visible in figure 2.1 and figure 2.2 that identify the 3 animals all belong to the same vertebrate group. First,
External ear.
yes, very obvious. External ears or fur. We will talk about mammals in a minute. Now, this is the question that is important. DNA can also be used to classify species. We know that. Molecular biologists compared the DNA-based sequences of 8 species from the same vertebrate group. They used the differences to draw a classification diagram. So this is a big classification diagram here. Figure 2.3 shows the classification diagram for these 8 species. The shorter the horizontal distance from the 2 species to the branching point that they share, the more similar their DNA sequences are, and the more closely the 2 species are related. Now, I expect a lot of students to read this sentence and not to understand it. Be patient, I'll help you. Okay, so if you read this sentence again, what does it say word by word? Figure 2.3, which is this figure, shows the classification diagram for these 8 species. The shorter the horizontal distance from 2 species to the branching point that they share, the more similar their DNA sequences are, and the more closely they are related. The more shorter means what? See this distance? The shorter the horizontal distance from 2 species to the branching point. This is the branching point. And this is the horizontal distance. This horizontal distance means that when it is short, what does it mean? What does the question tell you? That these 2 organisms are more related or less related?
More related.
More related.
More
Okay.
related.
Exactly. We understand this from this sentence, and we already have an idea about the evolutionary tree. Now let's look at the human, for example, and the mouse. Look at the branching point. It's so far away. So this means that the human and the mouse are closely related or not?
No.
No, they're not. Okay. The scale on figure 2.3 shows the time at which the molecular biologists estimate that each branching point occurred. So we have a scale here with the value of time in million years on the x-axis. Okay, so this is the great-great-great-grandfather. They assume that all these organisms that are present now, they come from a great-great-great-grandfather. But of course, they changed with time, and this time was a million years ago or millions of years ago. Okay, now let's see, what do they want? Morphology can also be used to classify species. Some scientists think that morphology suggests that the giant panda is more closely related to the red panda. Discuss the evidence for and against the giant panda being more closely related to the red panda than it is to the polar bear. Use the information in figure 2.1 and 2.2 and 2.3 in your answer. Now, this is not a nice question, but if you understand it, you will find that it is very easy. They actually want your opinion. And this question was definitely out of at least 4 or 5 marks. Let me see. It was 5 marks. So this is not very nice. We want the 5 marks. So when they give us a question like this, we have to follow the instructions so we don't lose a single mark. They said discuss the evidence for and against. If you are on the exam, I advise you to take a pencil in these long essay questions and underline what exactly do they want. They want 2 points. They want the evidence for and against. The relationship between the giant panda, we want to support the idea that the giant panda is closely related to the red panda, more than the giant panda is related to the polar bear. And we have to use all the information that they gave us. So let's go to the first picture. And let's look at the giant panda. This is the giant panda here. Okay? How did I know it's written above? This is the giant panda. Why do we assume, or why will we support the idea that the giant panda is more closely related to the red panda and it is not related to the polar bear? Look at the picture.
Because they both have ears?
No, this is not a correct answer. The 3 of them has ears, but maybe the ears in the giant panda is more forward, closer to the eye. And again,
The ear position.
the ear position, yeah. And the polar bear, the ears are behind. Now, what else? What is very obvious about why are these 2 related? Excuse me?
Both eating herbivores?
Yes, they are both eating the same type of food. They are both eating plants. They're both eating they are both herbivores. Now, this polar bear, is it eating plants?
No.
No. What else about the habitat? Where are these 2 living?
Forests, bamboo forests.
Exactly, they're living in
The
greenery.
ecosystem.
Exactly, different ecosystems. These 2 are living in nearly the same habitat, in nearly the same place. They're living in gardens. They're eating the same food. But the polar bear lives in water. It's eating fish. So that is why the giant panda is more closely related to the red panda. Okay, I used this figure to support my answer. I have to also use the other figure that they gave me, the evolutionary tree. Let's go to the evolutionary tree. This is the giant panda. And this is the red panda. Okay, now against, because they want you to either agree or disagree. We already agreed. We said that they are related because they're eating the same food and they live in the same place or nearly the same environment. How do we disagree? Maybe their ears are different. Let's disagree here using the classification system. We want to disagree. We want to say that the giant panda is not related to the red panda. It is actually closer to the polar bear. What will you say here?
They both come from the same branching point, and
Exactly.
the horizontal distance is short.
Very good. The giant panda and the polar bear, they come from the same branching point. Plus, they appeared on Earth. Look at the scale. I'll go down. They come from the same branching point, and they also appeared on Earth 20 million years ago. What about the red panda? Do they come from the same branching point as the red panda?
No.
No. And when did the red panda appear? Around 40 million years ago. So the red panda is present on Earth 20 million years earlier. So maybe this picture shows that the giant panda and the red panda are related, but when we come to look at the classification diagram, no, it does not support the idea that the giant panda and the red panda are related. It actually does not support the idea. It shows that the giant panda and the polar bear are more related to each other, and the giant panda and the red panda are distant from each other, because it says in the question that the shorter the horizontal line, the more the DNA-based sequences are the same. So you will have to write all that to score the 5 marks. And it's actually an easy question once you get to understand it. You will have to support and you have to not support. I will support using this picture. These two, they live in the same place and they eat the same food and they have the same color. They both have dark colors. While the polar bear is so different, it is living in a different place. It is eating different food. It is white in color, no black color in its fur. And this diagram is actually against what I first said. Okay, let's look at the mark scheme. 4, they say they have the same diet. They're both herbivores. They live in similar ecosystems. Fur markings are described, like we said. They are both dark in color. Ear position against shorter distance between the giant panda and the polar bear than to the red panda. So this means that the DNA-based sequences are different. And the red panda appeared 40 million years ago, while the giant and the polar bear, they appeared together. They appeared 20 million years ago. So this gives more time for mutation or changes. Clear? When the red panda appears 40 million years ago, so this indicates that the DNA is definitely very different.
Doctor,
Yes.
can you repeat the against?
The against. We will go and look at the classification here. We want to indicate that the giant panda is not related to the red panda. Okay? And it's true, they're not related because the giant panda is closer to the polar bear. See the shorter horizontal distance? They said in the question, the shorter horizontal distance means the more the DNA is similar. So the giant panda and the polar bear most probably has DNA that is similar. And the giant panda and the red panda, look at the horizontal distance here. It's much longer because the red panda appeared 40 million years ago, while the giant panda appeared 20 million years ago. So definitely the DNA cannot be similar because one of these species, which is the red panda, appeared 20 million years earlier, before. Okay, so they want to know if you understand this diagram or not. They want to see whether you understand it or you don't understand. And for your information, you do not have to write everything in the mark scheme, but most of the material. Okay? Because some of you asked me about that question. Okay, going back, this is very important to relate what we understood to questions. So I hope this evolutionary tree now is clear. Going back to, okay, it's written here in your notes. I hope it's clear now. Now the 5 kingdoms, what we have left is very little, which is talking about the vertebrates. We talked about the invertebrates. Now I will talk about the vertebrates. Now I would like to use pictures. Vertebrates, they have a backbone or they don't have a backbone?
They
have
do.
a
have a backbone.
Okay,
They
what
have a
are
backbone.
they? This is not the PowerPoint I want. Okay, they have a backbone. Good. What's this? No, this is not okay. This is AS. Okay, they have a backbone. This is not your material. Tell me, if they have a backbone, what are they? What are the different vertebrates that you know about?
Birds,
Mammals, reptiles, fish, amphibians.
Yeah.
Birds.
mammals,
Very good. Let's go and look at them. Here, they're all grouped here. We want to know their features and we will be done. Okay, it's a very easy lesson. So the vertebrates are the organisms that have a backbone. How do I remember them? I advise you to use the term bee farm. Bee farm. What's bee?
Birds.
Birds. Okay. Birds. Oh, come on, tell me, what are the features?
feathers,
beaks,
Beaks.
Very good.
They
wings.
lay eggs,
hard shells
they
on land.
hard-shelled eggs.
hard-shelled eggs.
Okay, you are all correct. I just want to specify that they lay eggs on land, and these eggs are covered by soft shell or hard shell?
Hard shell.
Hard shell. They are cold-blooded or warm-blooded?
Warm-blooded.
Warm-blooded. Warm-blooded, in case you don't know, it means that their blood temperature is constant throughout the year. Like we are warm-blooded. Our blood temperature is always 37 degrees. Okay, they have a beak. They don't have scales, but they might have scales on their tailons here. Okay, so birds. This is B. What is F?
Fish.
Fish, Mr. Fish. The fish cold-blooded or warm-blooded?
Cold-blooded.
Cold-blooded. Their body temperature is affected by the surroundings. They lay eggs or they give birth?
Lay eggs.
Yes, they lay eggs. These eggs, they are actually
Soft
shells.
shell.
Okay, soft shells. Okay, and fish, they are covered by scales. They swim. They have gills. I think this is very easy. Any questions? What is A? What is A?
Amphibian.
Amphibians. Okay, like the frog. This amphibian, what's very special about them is that they live part of their life on land and the other
Part in
part in water. So at some point in their life, they will have lungs. And when they live in water, they will have
Gills.
gills. Okay. Now the reptile. What is so special about them?
Dry, scaly skin.
Yes, they have very dry, scaly skin, as you can see. And they also lay eggs on land, but these eggs have soft shells. Sometimes they call them leathery shells. Soft shells is fine. Okay? What else? What else about the reptile? That's special about. They're all vertebrates. The bird, the fish, the amphibian, the reptile, and then we have the, what's this?
Mammals.
Mammals, okay? The mammals. They love asking you about mammals. We have a list of features. What are the visible features that makes this a mammal?
Fur or hair.
External ears.
Very good. They have external ears and they have 4 limbs, but 4 limbs is not special only for mammals because sometimes reptiles have 4 limbs. So they have fur and they have external ears and they are
They give
warm-blooded, or of course they give birth, they produce milk for their young, they are warm-blooded, they are very sophisticated actually. I want to go over these markings before you ask me. Mammals have a placenta. Who remembers what's the placenta?
Placenta.
Yeah.
Uterus.
Yes.
It supplies the baby with food.
Yes, you are all correct. In case you don't know what's a placenta, this is the uterus inside, like in the female. Okay, if the uterus, I hope you all know what is a uterus, okay? The uterus is the organ inside the female's body that carries the baby. Let's say this is the baby inside the uterus. How is the baby feeding? There is an organ called the placenta. This organ will filter the mother's blood, make sure that it does not contain anything harmful, and then it will deliver the mother's blood, the food, to the baby's navel. It is connected to the baby's navel. If you don't know what's a navel, it's the part in the baby's stomach, okay? So this is the placenta. This is found in all mammals, because I want you to understand every word. Endothermic is another word for warm-blooded. So in case you're not sure what is endothermic, it means warm-blooded. The blood temperature stays constant. Birds, they lay eggs with hard-shelled eggs because they usually ask about the shells. What else? Reptiles, they lay eggs with rubbery shells. Rubbery means soft. You can use the word soft. Okay, amphibians. Yes, this list, and that will be done. I just want to make sure you understand. Mammals, they are warm-blooded. They can have 4 limbs. They all have 4 limbs, but not because they have 4 limbs, they are a mammal, because some reptiles, for example, have 4 limbs. Covered with fur or hair. They have a diaphragm. Who remembers what's a diaphragm?
And a muscle under
The lungs.
Helps in breathing.
Muscle that contracts and
Inhaling.
expands.
You are all correct again. Some of you don't know what's a diaphragm. Diaphragm is found in your chest cavity. Okay, these are your lungs. For example, these are your lungs. Below the lungs, there is a muscle here called the diaphragm, and this muscle moves up and down. It will contract and relax to either squeeze the lungs and get the air out or help you breathe in. Okay, so there is a muscle called the diaphragm at the base found below the lungs. These are your lungs. And this diaphragm muscle helps you in breathing. We'll study it in detail later. This diaphragm is also found only in mammals, but you don't give this answer when they ask you for state the visible features. State the visible features, you will say covered with fur, They have external ears. Pay attention to the question. They have external nipples for breastfeeding. You all should know that mammals, they give birth. They give birth to live young and they produce milk. And this milk comes from the female, from her mammary glands. So they have external nipples. But other organisms that are not mammals, they don't have that. They have mammary glands or breast tissue that generates milk. Again, this is only for mammals. They produce milk. We know that now. Sexual reproduction. We will study reproduction later. But in case you don't know what is sexual reproduction, this is reproduction that involves a male and a female. This is the female and this is the male. Okay? This is only, or this is found in mammals also. They give birth to fully formed young. They practice internal fertilization. Why is this mentioned? Because some organisms, for example, fish, they practice something called external fertilization. I don't know if you know that, but do you know that the female fish, let's say this is my fish. Okay, it looks very bad, but the female fish will lay eggs and then it will swim away. And then the male fish will come and it will lay sperms. So the fertilization, which is the fusion of the sperm and the eggs, happens outside the female's body. This is called external what?
External fertilization.
Very good, external fertilization. But in mammals, the sperm and the egg, they meet inside the female's body. This is internal fertilization. So you understand everything. Do you know that only mammals have sweat glands? Think of a reptile. Do you think the reptile produces sweat?
No.
Okay, it's only in mammals. They have 3 bones in their middle ear. They are the smallest bones in the body. They're called ossicles. You don't have to know their name, but you only need to know that mammals have 3 very small bones in their middle ear, only special for mammals. And they have 2 sets of teeth throughout their life, 4 types of teeth. They have, do you know that when you were children, you had milky teeth, and then now you have adult teeth? I'm sure you know that, yeah?
Yes.
Good. Like fish, they don't have this. It's only found in mammals. So these are all the features that are involved in mammals. You don't have to memorize all 14. Memorize what's easy for you, but you need to understand them. Okay? And then we have the invertebrates. Just make sure that we're done. Did I show you these pictures in class?
Yes.
Good. Okay, virus. I think I explained it. Plant. Did I show you the fern?
Yes.
Okay, very good, very good, very good. And the fungi, clear? Let's just give me a second. I know that you want to go, but I just make sure that the core is all covered and we did not miss anything. Animals, plants. I think we explained all that. This table, by the way, this is found in the core notes. It's important. It reminds you that 2 pairs of antennae are found only in crustaceans, and the compound eyes, where are they found? In insects and crustaceans.
Incrustation.
They always like to ask about the compound eyes and about the fungi, because it's both core and supplementary. You'll find them in both. I think I did not leave anything out. Did I miss anything? Do you want me to explain anything? Is everything clear?
Yes.
Okay. If you have any questions while you're reading, send me anytime. Send me anytime, and when I read the message, I'll explain everything to you. Now, tomorrow, you will get paper 2 and 4 if you have questions. I don't want you to be unsure of anything. If everything is clear, get paper 6. Fine? So get paper 2 and 4 tomorrow if you want me to sit with you and explain any question. All the questions have to be very clear. If 2 and 4 are good to go and you completed them and you're fine with them, we will tomorrow start concepts of paper 6 and we will solve paper 6 on those 2 lessons. And by the way, some of you are very confused. I told you that the quiz is on Sunday, 1st of October. Tomorrow is not the 1st of October. So it's not tomorrow. It's next Sunday. So you have lots of time.
Miss,
Yes, my
Doctor,
dear.
I still did not receive the books.
I know. I'll send it to you as a soft copy. Unfortunately, they're very slow. You will share. Don't worry. We will work. Don't worry.
Doctor,
I'll give you time. Yes, my dear.
the test. the topics that will come in the test, chapter 1, chapter 2 only?
Yes, but all papers, paper 2, 4, and 6. That's why I gave you an extra week. Okay, don't worry,
Okay.
you'll do very well. Okay, if you need anything, send me anytime. Clear?
Yeah.
Can we just revise the vertebrates?
The vertebrates, of course we can. If you want to leave, anyone wants to leave, leave. If you want me to, if you want to stay to listen to the vertebrates, sure. Okay, vertebrates, my dear. Vertebrates or invertebrates?
Oh, no, vertebrates.
Okay, Hadia, you need something?
Miss, can you revise the classifications of arthropods?
Arthropods? Okay, so
Yes.
Hannah, you need something?
Yes, there's just a question in paper 2. It's a quick question. Can I ask it now or after you finish?
No, my dear, ask.
Okay, it's telling me a person drinks a glass of iced water and the volume of sweat they secrete decreases. This is an example of which characteristic of living organisms? It's sensitivity, but I don't understand how this is sensitivity.
Because the person sense, can you read the question for me again? The person drank iced water and then?
Yeah, and the volume of sweat they secrete decreases.
Because the body temperature drops. Because you sweat when the body temperature increases. When he is drinking cold water, he will cool down. He does not need to sweat as much.
Oh, yes, okay, I got
You
it.
understand? Okay, and this is
Yeah.
sensitivity, yes. Okay, now
Okay.
revising quickly, if you want to leave, leave. If you want to listen to the vertebrates and invertebrates, stay. Now, vertebrates, my dear, this is the classification of animals. We have animals. These animals are divided into vertebrates and invertebrates. Okay? Vertebrates, these are the animals that have a backbone. Like you have a backbone. Vertebrates are further divided into the birds and the fish and the amphibians and the reptiles. And each one of them has special features because they are, yes, the same kingdom, but they're not the same species. Now let's look at them. Reptiles. Reptiles, what is so special about them is that they have very dry skin. They have very dry, scaly skin because they can live in very hot temperatures. And they lay eggs, and these eggs have soft shells. And their body temperature is affected by the surrounding, so they are cold-blooded. Any question about reptiles?
No.
Good. Now let's look at birds. Birds, they fly. These are the only species that fly. Okay, and insects also, some of them fly. So birds, they fly. They have wings to make them fly. They are covered by feathers. They are the only organisms that are covered by feathers. They have a very strong beak. This is the beak. Again, they are the only organisms that have a beak. They have very sharp claws. And also they lay eggs. And these eggs, they are laid on land and they are covered by a very hard shell. But birds are warm-blooded. Warm-blooded means what? Their body temperature is affected or not affected by the surrounding?
Not affected.
Not affected. Very good. Any question about birds?
No.
Good. Now fish. Fish, of course, they live in water and they have gills or lungs.
We have gills.
Of course, they have gills. Also, they are cold-blooded. Their body temperature is affected by their surroundings, and they lay soft eggs. These eggs are not even covered by a shell. And they do external fertilization, like I explained. The sperm and the egg meet each other outside the female's body, not inside the female's body. Any question about fish?
Just to be sure, they make external fertilization, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Good. Now, A is for amphibians, like this frog. These amphibians, what is very special about them, only amphibians do that. They live part of their lives on land and part of their lives in water. When they're little, they live in water and they have gills. And when they grow up a little bit, they live on land and they have lungs. So they're actually very special because their gills change to lungs as they grow. And of course,
Is that considered an adaptive feature?
Of course, then how will they live on land? They have to have lungs
Okay.
to be able to live on land, okay? And they also lay eggs, and they have very moist skin, very soft, slimy. You know this frog with slimy skin? They have very moist skin. And again, they are cold-blooded. So these are the vertebrates, and each one of them are different species, and they have different characteristics. Okay?
Okay.
Any questions, my dear?
Their eggs have hard shells or soft shells?
No,
shells?
soft.
Oh, okay.
Okay, only the birds have hard-shelled eggs, actually. The remaining are soft.
Okay.
Okay, now and the mammals, of course. I think the mammals are easy. External ears covered by fur. They have babies. They produce milk. Internal fertilization. Think of yourself because you are a mammal, or the features that are present in you, they relate to mammals. Any questions? Okay, who was asking about the invertebrates? Someone was asking about the invertebrates? Hannah, I think. Hannah, are you there? Okay, Hannah, are you there? Does anyone want me to revise invertebrates?
No.
Hadia, I think you asked me. Who wanted me to revise invertebrates?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Can you now see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Now the invertebrates, my dear, these are animals that have no backbone. They have other features. What are the general features of the arthropods or the invertebrates that we will study? They have bodies that are divided. That is why they're called segmented bodies. Their legs are also connected by several joints. So they have joint legs. And these joints are very flexible. And they have an external skeleton, not an internal one, like us. It's called exoskeleton. Of course, all of them lay eggs, and all of them are cold-blooded. So these are the general
Yes,
features.
doctor.
Yes, my dear.
It's called what, endothermic or exothermic?
Exoskeleton. Exoskeleton. Skeleton means exo. The skeleton is outside. Exo comes from exit. The skeleton is on the outside, not the inside. We have an endoskeleton. Endoskeleton means the skeleton is is inside. You have your skeleton inside your body. But the spider, for example, has the skeleton outside its body, from the outside. That's why it's called exoskeleton. Okay, my dear? Good. Now, the invertebrates, we said their general features. We have several types of arthropods. Arachnids, crustaceans, insects, and myriapods. Let's look at live pictures. They're easy. Arachnids are the spiders, for example. Arachnids, these are arthropods that have only two body parts. They have a first body part here called the cephalothorax, and they have an abdomen. And how many legs do they have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's an 8th leg. Here is 8. They have 4 pairs of legs.
So we have 4 pairs. Okay.
Okay, and they have 2 body parts. And they have no antenna. No antenna. Okay, EA. These are not antennas. Antenna, let me show you a picture. This is antenna. See this? This one. This is antenna. It's just moving. No, these 2 things coming out of the myriapod. This is antenna.
Yes.
Okay. The spider has no antenna. The fly has antenna, these short antenna over here. And the myriapod has a long antenna, as you can see. But the spider doesn't have an antenna. These antennae are used so that they can sense their surroundings. Okay. So these are the arachnids. Always take the spider and the scorpion as an example. I is for insects. Insects, like the fly, Their body is divided into 3 parts. They have 3 body parts, head and thorax and abdomen. They have 3 pairs of legs, or in total 6 legs. They have very big compound eyes, as you can see here, the compound eyes. They have wings. Sometimes the wings are functional, sometimes they're not functional. These are insects. Crustaceans, like those happy crabs here. Crustaceans, they live in water, like the shrimp or the crab. So they have gills so that they can breathe with those gills. And they have 5 pairs of legs or more. So they can have 10 legs. And they have 2 pairs of antennae. In total, 4 antennae. And they also have compound eyes. So these are just things that you have to memorize. The myriapod, this is the myriapod. This is a myriapod. The myriapod, as you can see, does not have a certain number of legs. It has many, many legs. And its body is divided into so many segments, so many divisions. It's very long, and it has many legs, and it only has 1 pair of antennae and simple eyes. This is another myriapod. Okay? So, invertebrates are animals with no backbones. They have other features. We will study the arthropods, which are an example or a subtype of the invertebrate. All these arthropods have these general features, and the arthropods are divided into the crustaceans, into the arachnids, into the insects, and into the myriapods. These are different species that have different characteristics, and you need to know the characteristics of each, just like the vertebrates. Do you have any question in specific?
Yes, doctor,
Yes.
what are the adaptive?
Excuse me? What's your question? I didn't hear.
Adaptive features.
The adaptive features?
Yes.
These are the general features that make them adapt to their surrounding. For example, the spider. Adaptive feature, the spider releases poison to catch its prey. It has here chelicera and pedipalps that release poison. It can make a spider web so that it can survive and it lives inside it. The crab, also they have claws to catch their prey. It has gills to live in water. Insects, they can fly so that they can escape away from predators. They are all adapted to live in their surroundings. You need to know their general features. Any specific question?
No, thank you, Miss.
Okay. Read your lessons and finish paper 2 and 4. If you have any questions, send me.
Miss,
Yes.
can you please re-explain ferns?
Fern, this is a non-flowering plant that does not make flower, and the leaves of the fern look like this. Did you see it with me in class?
Yes.
These leaves are called fronds. They don't make seeds and they don't make fruits. Then how do they reproduce? At the back of the leaf, they have many spores. These spores are identical baby plants that are present here at the behind or from the behind of the leaf. When these spores fall on soil, they will grow to a plant that is identical to the parent plant. This is all what you need to know about the fern, that this is the only example for a non-flowering plant. It's a plant that is non-flowering. It does not make flowers. It looks like this, and at the back of the leaf, it contains spores. And this is another picture. This is all what you need to know about ferns.
Okay, Miss, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, again, if you have any questions, send me on WhatsApp, okay? See you tomorrow.
Okay, bye.
Bye.